was when I went to the Dave Asprey's biohack thing a year ago, which I think is just happened or is about to happen or whatever. And I told you all these people were running around trying to get in the flow, in the zone, which I found was amusing. And then I've been in the flow 40 plus years. But the measurement of a man back in the 70s was doing this. Unless you ran 100 miles in piss blood, you weren't a man. Period. Flat. Run 100 miles, piss blood. And if you run 100 miles, the chances are 7 or 8 times out of 10 you're going to piss blood because your body breaks down, your kidneys, and you actually urinate blood. And I didn't know, when I told the guys at the biohack thing that, I mean, they all... And there were people there, and I realized that if you're invalid or you got one leg or you fucking... But listen to this, YouTubers. There are people talking about running 5, 6, 7 hour marathons. It's beyond my comprehension in every level that I live on why you would even bother to run a 5 hour marathon. And of course now they say with the political, I want the experience. I'm going to run through. That's all horseshit. Okay. Well, if you run a 5, 6 hour marathon, you're not going to never piss blood because you're not working your body hard enough. And since I've never run slower than a 3:17 marathon, it's hard for me to imagine. I can't comprehend it. And the guys, when I was running marathons, if you weren't going to run 3:30 or better, I mean, you might as well kill yourself.
Don't say that. I run 3:41.
Huh? Yeah. And I don't know. But the whole world is shifted. And I got a couple of emails about why am I so hard and why do I use so bad words and why do I do this and why do I do that? Because that's my experience, kids. It just is. The billionaires that are when they're on camera, they talk one way. The billionaires when they're off camera talk another way. We have a billionaire that I don't happen to know personally, but had an experience with a guy in this room. He went into his office, walked in the door, and he says, "How do I get into your chair?" And this is one of the guys I don't know. I think he's in the top 20, 25 richest in the country. And he says, "You're never going to sit in this chair. Get out." As opposed to what you think, "Oh, come on in, David. Let me tell you how you can sit in my goddamn chair. I'm getting ready. I'm old anyway." That's just not how it is. And if you think that's how it is, you better go to one of these other seminar guys that tell you how fucking easy it is, because it's not. It's like I told the kids yesterday and again today, some of you have learned how to play financial instruments. I teach you how to play the financial orchestra. To use all the tools available, and I'm not talking about derivatives and options and that kind of. All the tools available to get what you want out of the financial institutions in a legal, moral, ethical way. That's the difference. And these other kids that are teaching don't know shit. Well, they know shit, but they don't know shit compared to guys like me. They just don't. And as one of my genius mentees told me, or has been saying for years, who would you rather have? Somebody that's read 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 books, or somebody that's done 700 deals? It's a fucking no-brainer. I ask you, Nimrods, who would you rather have? Somebody that's read 700 fucking books or done 700 deals? If you even have to think about it, you're running the 6 hour marathon as opposed to the 3 hour marathon. I mean, there's no question about it. And it sounds braggadocious, and some people say the reason why you say that, Dan, is because nobody's done as many deals as you. Duh! Duh! That's right, you fucking morons. Go to their seminars, buy their DVDs, buy their CDs, listen to their fucking podcasts. Do it. Do me a fucking favor. It's unbelievable to me how fucking you're cretins retarded. Because you really don't want to be successful. That's the whole motherfucking point. You're just jerking off. 6-hour marathon. Jesus Christ. Go run in front of a fucking bus, a lorry. Jump off a fucking bridge. Unlike my mentee, blind Tony Ward, who's running in the New York Marathon in a few days, blind as a motherfucking bat. He's going to try to break 3 hours. Blind, running on a string behind a better athlete. Jesus Christ, please. Give me a break. How do you say, what's that thing I asked you about? How do you say it in...
Alama.car.
Alama.car. What's that mean?
God help me.
Alama.car. That's enough. I had enough of YouTube. You know, you'd think with an MBA, a certified financial analyst, and a fucking CPA, but he's only 25. He's only been out of school 3.5 years. And most of that was getting all these fucking degrees. But I said, Peter, they don't know that. But he knows it. And so when this we're not going to do the role play for them. But when I tell you, it's like when I was Rothschild, Baring Brothers, excuse me. The guy, the trader in Hong Kong or wherever, took him down and they had to buy the firm for a guilder or $1, whatever the fuck it was. I'm giving before this happened, I'm giving a presentation at Baring Brothers. And Lord Baring, I think his name was David Gunn, the chief investment officer, and a few other guys. I'm giving the presentation. I go through the presentation. Again, flip charts in those days. And so Lord Baring walks me to the door, to the lift. English do that. They walk you to the lift. They walk you, you know. Did the French walk you to the lift too? The elevator? No, I didn't. No. So we're walking, and there's rare pieces of art on the walls, so Lord Baring, I always try to make my presentations better, more succinct, slick. I mean, what can I do to change? You know. And I back into the lift, and as the elevator, like in a James Bond movie, as the elevator doors are slowly closing, like this, Lord Baring leans forward and says, Mr. Peña, actually, the only thing I do is learn how to stutter. And the elevator shut. What he was telling me is, you're too fucking slick. And back in those days, I was slicker than a baby with diarrhea. I mean, I was really slick.
But he didn't like it.
No, he just thought that I was too slick. Okay, they took up their rights. They put the money in, but, you know, he was old enough to be my father. He was being nice to me. He was being nice to me. And I was slick. I mean, there was no question I was slick. And a lot of the Brits in those days couldn't talk very well. You know, every other thing was actually or quite. Now they're more slick. They're more westernized. And it taught me a great lesson. I mean, I toned down my shit. And the next time I went back to give a presentation there, I started out the presentation, Lord Baring, Mr. Gunn, and everybody just broke out in laughter. And but I got away with murder, not murder, you know, metaphorically speaking, murder, because there was nobody like that running around in those days. Now, I'm told there's a lot of mini-me's running around. I don't mean coaching shit and taking money from you guys, you poor fuckers, but I mean, you know, there's other guys that are slick, that, you know, do a good job. And by slick, I in no way, shape, manner, or form am I saying that we're not immoral or anything like it. They're just polished salesmen. And in those days, investment bankers didn't like to be thought of as salesmen. They were investment professionals. They didn't think of that of me as Bear Stearns. Danny's a great fucking salesman. He can get shit on the books. So, I mean, and the world's changed now. The world's changed. And, of course, now they've got women in those roles. And back in my day, in those days, they didn't. Very few and far between was there, as they used to call them, skirts running around. Probably that's politically incorrect. And You go to HR now, get your skirt, I used to say, get your ass over here. You can't talk that way anymore. I still do, but you politically correct guys won't talk that way. Any questions on, yes?
You were saying you were quite slick. Do you put it down to preparation and practice?
Oh, just like I prepared 80, 90 hours for this fucking seminar that I gave in a coma, I used to prepare like crazy for those meetings. I used to go run through all the permutations. What can they ask me? And if I was going to give a presentation and they were bringing some assholes from Goldman Sachs or someplace in there, I prepared even more because those guys could more readily see the holes in my presentation if I had any holes. But fortunately, I was smarter than most of them, so, but I still prepared. I always prepare, and, I'm going to say this for me. It doesn't necessarily mean anything for you. I prepare like they're as smart as I am. Now, if you prepare for as smart as you are, you're going to fucking fail. So, yeah. So I'm not suggesting that.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Now, in a week from now, you're going to be slicker than baby shit. But you're not slicker than baby shit, even though you're a big property maggot. Okay? So, you prepare, I prepare, the Goldman Sachs guy could actually have been smart, but I lucked out, he wasn't. So, I don't have to worry. So, I prepare as if I'm giving my presentation to myself. And that's at the very highest of standards. But I've been like this, like I told somebody here recently, since I'm 21 years old. I've always done my very best to be the most prepared in the room. The most prepared. Not the most 21-year-old, 25-year-old, or 30-year-old. The most fucking prepared in the room, everybody in the room. And it's boded, the rest is history. It's boded very well for me. And that's my military background, having to give presentations. You go outside my office, I got with generals and shit. As a young 21, 22, 23-year-old officer, I'm giving presentations to NATO commanders and shit like that. And they weren't interested that I didn't go to West Point. They weren't interested that I didn't go to Eton. They weren't interested that I didn't go to blah. All they knew is you're a fucking second or first lieutenant, and you're responsible for my fucking briefing today, Peña. Notwithstanding, you're the sorriest fucking piece of shit in this man's army that calls himself an officer. So they expect me to be like a West Point with a Harvard MBA. And so I did. There was no question about it. I was very well prepared. One of the best compliments I ever got was from a full bird colonel, a Marine guy. I gave a briefing, and nobody said I was worth a shit. Nobody said anything. But I'm walking down the hall. Nobody yelled at me, so it must have been good. The colonel says, "Lieutenant!" And he says, good job. Old fucks won't tell you that, but good job. He was a young bird colonel. So if you're the best prepared, and practice, when we're going to show some movies about Hitler and how he practiced. And Hitler, in my judgment, if not the greatest public speaker in the last 100 years, certainly one of the greatest public speakers in the last 100 years. And I just studied, I got a new part of the seminar, it's coming up tomorrow, I think, where, he was a fucking psychopath, maniac, goddamn. And a lot of people say, Dan, that's you. That's fucking you, Dan. And I said, no. And I'm not attributing anything. Hitler did all bad shit, so don't give me any shit from YouTube. But, his public speaking techniques and effectiveness, were second to none. Just think all the bad shit he got people to do. It's unbelievable, And you can't find, and I used to live in Germany, and I went to the University of Heidelberg not too long after the war, and you can't find anybody that knew anything about the concentration camps. Nowhere, no place, no how. They're all deaf, dumb, and blind, which is a whole other story. Any questions?
Do you think it's better to play on your strength or shore up your weakness?
No, I'm glad you said that. Forget your fucking weaknesses. Forget that shit. Beef up your strengths to the extent that you got any. And everybody's got at least one strength. Play off your strengths. It's a lot easier to make your strengths better than your weaknesses good. Play off your strengths, And dress the part. Dress for success. People will give you the benefit of the doubt, And we're going to talk about how to dress here, I think it's tomorrow or the next day. Some of you will be able to relate to the before and after picture. I already showed you some before and after pictures. Okay? We used to take films of the way you show up to here at the castle. Well, some of you showed up in suits, and some of you didn't. And we used to give a prize for the biggest pig that showed up, and the best dress that showed up. We don't do that anymore because I'm a kinder, gentler Dan. I used to get a lot of fun on graduation night. And the biggest pig to show up, it's a little unusual this time because it's a gal. No, not true. But I mean, and in general, women show up to the seminar better than, dressed initially better than the men. Better than the men. And any other question?
Yeah, when you were saying that you were really the finance guy and you had the legal guy and the accountants, who was really in charge of all the operation and really like?
Okay. On whose side? On the accounting side or on the company side? On the company side, the CFO, the finance director, will be in charge of the meat. Finance director. That's why, the two most important after you, giving you the benefit of the doubt, the two most important people on the board are the chairman, who's going to take care of you when they try to cut your throat, and the CFO, finance director, who understands, that has credibility when he's telling Deloitte, Goldman Sachs, whoever, The others are important, the industry experts, but and those are the guys. You normally take the finance director with you to meetings, and or the chairman. If for the finance director you can't get him, you bring the chairman. And then you got to brief the chairman. Don't let him come in there like a fucking idiot. You brief him. You go spend time with him and say, so he doesn't look foolish. Because he'll only look foolish one time in a meeting with you. Only once. You don't want to look foolish, but better you look foolish than he looks foolish.
So would you go over the execution?
No, you go over why are we seeing these guys? How do we meet these guys? Here's the executive summary again, Mr. Chairman, just in case you didn't have time to read it. Have dinner with him the night before, and you pick up the tab, or have lunch. Brief him. First of all, he's used to being briefed. I'm used to being briefed. See, you kids, when I'm in deals with you, you forget to brief me because I know your deal better than you do. But it's good practice for you to brief me, even though I do know your deals better than you. But it's good practice to, Dan, can I come over early and then you brief me, and it's good practice not only to brief me or the chairman, and it gives you just repetition, repetition. Faldo hit 6 million golf balls. Why? Because practice. It's like a great golf coach once told me, he says, Dan, the only thing great golfers need more daylight. This is before he's from the era of no night ranges. Yeah, more daylight, because more daylights you can hit more golf balls. Practice more. Okay.
When we were in a situation where we're doing a role play, and the guy from Goldman Sachs said, "Okay, I'm going to discuss it with my partners."
He's telling the truth. They will have to discuss it with the partners.
Yeah, but if you're in a hurry to do deals or get people on board, like financiers, and you have Deloitte or whoever, then would you ask them in advance that whoever decision makers you need, can you have them in the room?
But for the first meeting, you want all the decision makers. But for the first meeting, you're going to be hard unless this is a $500 million deal or $500 million something, like Aria's deal. I mean, he had a lot of people in the room because $330 million is a fairly chunky deal. But I mean, for your deal, you know, property maggot and all, I mean, you know, you might have a partner or two. But you got to have a partner. And the engagement partner on the other side, who drives the deal on the other side? The engagement partner. The engagement partner is the partner at the law firm or the accounting firm. Okay, YouTubers, good night. I was a couple minutes late because I was watching myself on YouTube and I was crying. I love that shit. It's unfucking believable how much I love myself. What is it that is both sexes? What is it? Not the amoeba, but something. What is it?
Aphrodite.
Yeah, I could be that easy. I just fuck myself. You know, I mean, I could do that easily. I just love myself. I don't need anybody. I really don't. But I was watching that and I said, God damn, fuck you're good, Dan. Jesus Christ. See, I'd pay you to come here. You don't understand that. I love smacking the shit out of you so much. I'd pay you fuckers the 20 grand. Hell, I used to do it for fucking free. But I brought Mom along today because I forgot her yesterday. Sorry, Mom. To keep me straight. Because I never want to forget. See, you want to forget the shitty things you did. I never want to forget. And I've interviewed 3 of you so far. 3 stories. There used to be a program, Valerie, on in New York, about New York, and it says 8 million lives and 8 million stories. Well, so far we have 3 stories. And nothing surprising. We've had murderers in this seminar. Fucking murderers. Convicted fucking murderers. 2 or 3 seminars ago, we had 3 convicted felons and 1 about to go to jail. And I haven't talked with 3 of you, but I haven't heard anything too special so far. I haven't heard anything too special. Or I should say out of the ordinary. Out of the ordinary. Because if you were all squared away, as they say, if you were all squared away, you wouldn't be here. Forget the fact that you want to enhance your business. If you were really squared away, you wouldn't be here. Emotionally. So, and by the way, I can only give you my sage input based on the information you give me. And I realize the information you give me, and even though you've filled out a lot of paperwork to get here, is only maybe between 60 and 85% accurate. Because you've left out shit that you don't think is important, or that you're embarrassed about, or both. So when we're in the private time, I strongly recommend, and when Dan recommends, I mean, listen, you fucking cretin moron. If you want to get the maximum out of this, you got to tell Dan all the truth. Just like I rearranged slides last night based on the fucking input that I got just from talking to you for a day. And I will continue to do that throughout the seminar because we have about 1,900 PowerPoints, and I probably only use, depending on the group, 1,500 to 1,700 of them. But the how to get the fucking money, etc., still only comes at the end. It's like sex; it still only comes at the end. But depending on the individual requirements of the group, and we have 1/3 of the group are in their 20s. 1/3 of the group, and we only have 4 old gits in their 40s. 4. And we've got, and the demographics are getting younger and younger. I was on the phone with a good friend of mine early this morning, and I was telling him, and of course he asked the question, he's 67, where do the kids get the fucking money? I said, and he suggested, as my wife suggested, we should do a money laundering check We don't do that. Where you get the money. But it's actually extraordinary. I mean, people my age want to know, how does a 21-year-old get 20 grand plus travel here? It's a good question, YouTubers. If you got any answers, I ask you to send me the answers to that question, not the normal shite that you send me. How?
You just focus from age 18 on business, and the internet allows you to.
Oh, well, I know internet's come. I understand that. I understand, Robbie, but the people that are 40, 50, 60, and 70 that don't know anything about the internet don't realize why I think the internet's the demise of the world, part of the demise. See? Why should a 20-year-old be able to make $500,000 a year? And we've had them here. With no education, and education isn't the end all, believe me. No education, no experience, no background, no fuck all. And back 10 years ago, before the algorithms and all that changed, I mean, I had kids sitting in this room from Romania. Who's the fucking gypsy? Where's the gypsy? Okay. In this fucking room, they were making $2 million a month. 2 millions, as my Swiss partners would say. 2 fucking millions a month. And they could hardly wipe their own ass. Now, algorithms are all changing. Those 2 million guys are now only 300,000. But then, when you're making 2 million a month, you think it'll never end. Been there, done that. I understand that. You know. And not in property, and not having to go through all the bullshit of being a landlord, and all that shite. Never having to meet anybody, talk to anybody. And of course, now they got ClickBank, which I call ClickFuck. Do the old gits know what ClickBank is? Yeah? Okay. Now, huh?
I don't.
Well, don't learn. Don't learn, please. Don't learn. And they got ClickFuck, and and it's a different world. So just like I told you when my dad said that, I hope I don't live long enough to when I see feminine hygiene stuff on TV, which he lived long enough. I mean, I know I'm going to see extraordinary things before my time's up. And having had big pharmaceutical guys here, etc. I tell the story about back in the '60s, because I came from the energy business, and it's the Wild West, and it's still the Wild West. And legend has it, back in early '60s, they were having a convention of the National Association of Petroleum something or others in Las Vegas, and a guy was going to present a paper, a Caltech guy. Caltech is like the Western MIT. Caltech guy was going to present a paper. And he was with Chevron. He was the head of something at Chevron, which is not Chevron Mobile, I think. And his paper was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he didn't show up. So, the guys go to Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They thought he just got sucked and fucked or something, he'll be all right. He didn't show up that day. The next day, he never was heard from again. And then it became, the world became aware of what the paper he was going to present. He had figured out a way to make distilled water into petroleum for a cost of about 100 millionth of a penny a gallon or some bullshit. Now, do you honestly think, now this was 50 years ago, do you honestly think, and I don't believe in conspiracy theories, do you honestly think the energy business is going to allow that to happen? Are you fucking crazy? Ain't going to happen. And there's been 4 or 5 other things. They've got a story like that about cancer. They've got to cure cancer. They've got a story about a bunch of stuff like that. It's not going to happen. So I don't believe in Illuminati, and I don't believe in the military-industrial complex and that shit. I don't believe in that, because I know a bunch of those guys. But I do believe that the energy business is not going to let somebody turn water into fucking petroleum or gasoline. I do believe that, having been part of that complex. For example, electric cars. The first electric car, I think, was around 1900, more or less. electric cars. Now, if the industrial complex really wanted electric cars, we've had 115 years to perfect it. 115 years. Now, you've seen what industry's done in 115 years in just about every other area, right? We put a guy on the moon, we did this, we did that, we did all this shit, right? Yet we haven't been able to perfect an electric car? Come on! And now, Mr. Musk, God bless him, Allah bless him, Buddha bless him, he's going against the grain. Of course, a lot of people don't like him. The little tree hugger fucks like you like him, but I mean, a lot of other people don't like him. And he's made strides in the last 10 years in electric cars that everybody is going aha about. But I mean, if we had been working at this, really working at it, and some people say the big companies have been working at it, that's why they've been able to jump in and compete with Tesla, not so easily, but almost at will, because they don't want electric cars. Now, I can't be the only one that understands this. So some of your projects that you bring to me, I mean, that's a great idea. But that dog will never hunt in your lifetime. And it's not because I don't think you should, go against the grain, because I've gone against the grain all my life. But I want you to be as successful as humanly possible now, not when you're 55. He's 21, so, that's a long time. And so I tell you, that's in a world, on a world basis, that's worth doing. But if you want to make some fucking dosh cash, shekels today, then it's not worth doing. Last night you saw Fear. What's the takeaway from Fear, the movie?
Out of fear. Takeaway number one, fear can be diffused through conscious attention, thereby giving proper perspective. Number two, and even major risks can be prevented with advanced planning. Three, that you get better working in private day by day without...
Say that last one again, please.
You get better working in private day by day without...
This is my first 60 pills. Actually, no. I already took 20, so this is my from 30 to 80.
Homeopathic.
Pardon?
Homeopathic.
No, I drug up.
Why so many?
If you look like me at 70, which you won't even live to 70, so don't worry about it.
In my genes, I'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll be all right. How's it been helping you so far?
Well, my grandmother was 97. She looked good.
Yeah, but you don't look good in your 40s, so I mean... Okay, go ahead, sir.
No problem. So you get better working in private day by day without notice or fanfare. So you are on your fucking own. You are your audience. Takeaway number 4: you'd be surprised how little most people think of you at all. They're busy worrying about their own shit. So takeaway number 5:
Is that from the video or is that from the article?
the fear.
Yeah, that's from the article.
Okay, you're doing it from the article.
Yeah.
Okay, didn't you see a movie on fear last night? Okay, well, okay. So we are separated by a common language.
Right.
And you're not even a frog. I mean, okay, the movie.
All right.
Fear is social, fear is infectious.
Yeah.
It is. And but fear is universal. And we're wired to be afraid. We're wired.
You can moderate it.
Yes, you can moderate, but you can never eliminate it. Because I do stuff, not recently, but I do stuff when I've done stuff that what I'm afraid to do, but I do it because I've trained my mind and trained my body to just react. And so like I talk about a QLA bot, a robot, but I've been a fearless bot for a long, long, long time. And I was fearless before I went in the military. So because of being raised by who I was raised. And seeing all those guys that, every day I saw guys, they were superheroes. Every fucking day. I didn't know. In fact, I was thinking about it this morning, brushing my teeth. I don't think I knew anybody that wasn't a hero, superhero, when I was growing up. Yeah.
So my takeaway from the movie was that, environment plays a big part. so it can instill fear in you. But what it didn't say, I believe, that the flip side is that when you're around people who are, say, for example, acting fearlessly, if you're around them enough, then you become, you know, a
Absolutely, and it's a reverse mob mentality. You know, it's many mobs, you know, like lemmings, they run away, but a lot of mobs don't run away, they run into fear. Okay, YouTube, we'll see you after lunch.